Bears mock draft 10.0, number 10 of the year, as we are less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. My name is Harrison Graham. All 7 rounds as we get closer and closer. These are the selections the Bears have this year: 25 overall, 57 and 60 overall, 89 overall, 129 overall as we get into day 3. No picks in the 5th and 6th round, and then 239 and 241. Thought we'd do something a little bit different today. There's all this talk about best player available, best player available, best player available. We're going to take best player available, Ryan Poles says. Well, I'm doing this mock draft with no trades, and I'm taking the best player available on the board, and we're going to see where we end up at the end. Now, there is an exception. The exception is I don't have to double dip at a position. So let's just say I take an edge rusher in the first round. If the best player available is edge rusher in round 2, I don't have to take that player, right? Or if I take a running back at some point and a running back is best player available, well, they're not going to take 2 running backs in the draft. So it's going to be BPA within reason, but I'm not going to be reaching. Like, this is going to be a pure BPA mock draft based on who's available and based who would be highest on my board. I obviously don't have access to the Bears board. I haven't perfectly finalized my board, but as we go through the simulator, I'll see who's available, and whoever I think is the best player, I'll take without forcing a position. And I think it's a good exercise to see, hey, if you go BPA, is it a completely good thing to do? We'll find out in this exercise. Okay, best players available with the 25th pick. We'll show 5 players at every pick that are available. Jordyn Tyson still on the board. He fell, the Arizona State wide receiver. More on him in a minute. Colton Hood, the cornerback out of Tennessee. Maxie Honachur, the offensive tackle out of Arizona State. Zion Young, the Missouri edge rusher. And then TJ Parker, the Clemson edge rusher as well. To me, if I'm going BPA, that is Jordyn Tyson. Now, obviously the exception would be like, what if his medical exam is really poor? What if there's off-field concern? Well, I don't have access to that information. I obviously know about his injury history, but to me at this spot in the first round, based on what I do know, this is a best player available situation. So I'll ask you before I make my selection, would you draft Jordyn Tyson if he falls to 25? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Let me know in the comments section below. It's a BPA draft. That's what I'm doing. Jordyn Tyson, the Arizona State wide receiver, come on down to the Chicago Bears. And we'll learn a lot more about where Tyson is physically pretty soon. He is set to work out for NFL teams on April 17th. I'm sure the Bears will at least have a scout there for that, as it is 6 days before round 1 of the NFL draft. He's been rehabbing a hamstring injury that's been lingering since the end of the season. Did he retweak it at some point? That's somewhat unclear. I'll make a prediction right now. If he has a good workout, tests well, assuming he does the 40, looks good in the workout drills, I think he goes top 15. I think he's one of the best players in this draft. I think when he's healthy, he's proven he's the best receiver in this draft. He's played in 21 games the last 2 years. He has over 1,800 yards. Like, quick math, 1,800 divided by 21, that's not that far off from averaging 100 yards a game. He has 13 games of 75 or more yards the last 2 years. When he's on the field, he's pretty fucking dominant. Like, that's what I know. He ended 2024, by the way, with I think 6 or 7 games in a row with 75 yards or more and several 100-yard games. Like, he is a big-time player. Obviously, the injuries are a thing, but he has still played in 18 games the last 2 years. It's not like he's missing over half the season or something like that. And could you imagine a trio of Jordyn Tyson, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden? Khalif Raymond is like your returner, wide receiver 4 type. You got Jade Walker as a good depth piece. I think he's worth it at 25. Unless there's a medical thing that we don't have access to where it's like he's got a degenerative knee or something like that. So I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a guy you can move around, inside, outside, all that stuff. So I would take the chance at 25. It is a BPA pick. Okay, best player available at 57. Jadarian Price, still on the board, the running back out of Notre Dame. Denied Dennis-Sutton, the edge out of Penn State. Traden Stukes, the defensive back out of Arizona. Jake Golday, the linebacker out of Cincinnati. And then Northwestern left tackle Caleb Tiernan. And again, Traden Stukes denied Dennis-Sutton, bigger needs, But Jadarian Price is still a big enough need, and it is a best player available draft. The running back out of Notre Dame, who I think is a clear RB2 behind his teammate, Jeremiah Love. And what I like about taking Jadarian Price for any team is that he's got a lot of tread on those tires because he was the number 2 in that offense. He also didn't really get the opportunity to showcase his skill set as a receiving back. He did a lot of the receiver drills at the combine, looked smooth, looked fluid. I think he can be an asset in the passing game, but averaged more than 6 yards per carry over the last 2 years at Notre Dame. He's also a really good kickoff returner. And with his build and the modern kickoff returner rules, you like guys who are not only can run well, but can also can break tackles. And it's a big vision play now. It's almost like a running play, and he's a running back. So I think that fits well. 36 yards per average on 22 kickoff returns in his college career. 3 touchdowns on 22 returns. That's a very good ratio. Didn't test incredibly well, but still pretty good. I mean, sub 4.5 in the 40. The explosive drill still well above average. So I like Jadarian Price a lot. There were games at Notre Dame where he actually was performing better, so they would kind of ride him at times if he had the hot hand. And I think the question becomes, if you draft Jadarian Price, what do you do with DeAndre Swift? Is a Price-Monungai pairing good enough to trust that for this year, or do you keep all 3 and you kind of just figure out which 2 are the best for your primary rotation? I would say if you can get a draft pick back for DeAndre Swift, you would probably float that out there to RB-needy teams, but, I'd probably still keep Swift over cutting him in this scenario because you'd be talking about a rookie and a second-year player in Price and Monungai. That's putting a lot of trust in those 2 guys to carry the load this year. Subscribe and join us. We will be live on as many of our Chat Sports channels as possible this upcoming Thursday for a 3-round mock draft. We did this exercise last year. We're testing our draft graphics, but also it's just fun. I'm live representing the Bears in the draft, and, our Raiders guy, Cowboys, all across the board. I think we'll be live on like 20 of our team channels, and we'll make picks for all 32 teams, and we'll see who the Bears end up with. So subscribe and join us. Don't know exactly what time it'll be on Thursday, maybe 3 o'clock, so stay tuned for that. Okay, best players available at 60. Obviously, still some guys that were available at 57. Denied Dennis-Sutton, Caleb Tiernan. Derek Moore, the Michigan edge rusher, is available as well. Grayson Halton, the Oklahoma defensive tackle. And then Davison Igbinosun, the cornerback out of Ohio State. To me, the BPA here is Denied Dennis-Sutton. You guys know I'm high on him. I'm probably a little higher than consensus. Although it is kind of funny, I get him at 60 here. He's exactly Dane Brugler's 60th overall prospect. So I do think this is proper range for him. And unlike a lot of his counterparts in this draft, he was just as productive, if not a little bit more so, year over year from 2024 to 2025 as an edge rusher. The stats are virtually identical, but he did that in 3 less games and for a team that kind of fell apart. Well, his production did not fall apart, so I definitely like that. He tested really well. He defends the run at a high rate. He's got the physicality that Dennis Allen is looking for. He can dent the pocket as a pass rusher. Needs to add more to his pass rushing arsenal, but I'll be honest, we've talked about Zion Young as a round 1 option, and we'll see if he goes in the first round. I don't think there's that big of a gap between a Zion Young and a Denied Dennis-Sutton. So if you have to take Young at 25 or Dennis-Sutton at 57 or 60, I'd probably rather have Dennis-Sutton at 57 or 60 or Gabe Akis or Derek Moore. You would hope at least one of those 3 get to that second-round cluster of where the Bears have 2 picks. To me, that's kind of ideal, and it really keeps you that optionality open in the first round to truly go BPA for a guy potentially like Jordyn Tyson if there's a surprise player that falls into your lap that is too good to pass up. Okay, best player available at 89. Connor Lew, the Auburn center. Rayshon Benny, the Michigan defensive tackle. TCU safety Bud Clark. Kieron Crawford, the edge out of Auburn. And then Texas corner Malik Muhammad. And I'm taking the center, Connor Lew. He is not typically available in these mocks at 89. And again, I'm sticking to the BPA method here. And look, you look at these 4 picks, have I filled all my top needs? I still don't have a safety? No, but running back, beyond this year, pretty big need. Swift's a free agent. Edge, definitely a need right now. Connor Lew, center. Bradbury's a rental this year. Receiver, that's a luxury pick, but that's a true BPA. I kind of feel okay with how this has played out so far. And Connor Lew, what's unique about him compared to the other centers in this draft, he is pretty clearly the best pass protector. I think he's probably not as good as a run blocker compared to the other centers in this draft, but he can protect pretty well in the passing game. Now, he did tear his ACL in the middle of last season in October, I think October 18th. So, let's just say training camp is July 25th. So that would put him at about 9 months. That's on the quicker side of things. Some guys get back from ACLs in eight months. Sometimes it takes 10 or 11. So somewhere in the middle, maybe on the slightly earlier end. If he could get back midway through training camp, maybe play in a preseason game or two, that would be nice. But the good news is you don't need to draft a center to play right away. In fact, it's ideal whether they get Sam Hecht or Connor Lew or Logan Jones or whoever, if they do draft a center, which I think there's a decent chance they will. That guy sits behind Garrett Bradbury, a veteran, soaks up everything, and in 2027 takes over. And I think that would be the perfect plan for Connor Lew, not only because he is recovering from that injury, but this is a complex offense, and Garrett Bradbury is a smart player. He can hold it down this year. Lew can kind of redshirt, don't need to rush back his recovery, and can kind of slowly bring him along. All right, get yourself a Bear Claw Selly shirt at chatsports.com/LB10. We got these available in black and in navy. Get them right now. They're flying off the shelves. Chatsports.com/LB10. Link is in the comments and description of this video. Go ahead and check it out. Okay, fourth round we go. Again, no trades because we're doing BPA for every single pick. Excuse me. Jalon Kilgore still available, the defensive back out of South Carolina. Bryce Betcher, the linebacker out of Oregon. Austin Barber, the offensive tackle out of Florida. Travis Burke, the offensive tackle out of Memphis. Max Llewellyn, the edge rusher out of Iowa. Got to go Kilgore here, and it's kind of ideal, right? The fourth round is probably the last pick. You could potentially get a guy that could come in and start in your defensive backfield, and kind of worked out where Kilgore was still on the board. It's probably more likely than not he'll be gone by this point because he is such an intriguing player. I think a team could take a chance on him in the third round. He's kind of one of these hybrid DBs, and there's about 5 of them in this draft where it's like, are they a nickel? Are they a safety? Can they do a little bit of both? Are they versatile? Yes. Dennis-Sutton values that, and that's kind of what he was at South Carolina, kind of a safety nickel hybrid who did a little bit of everything, who is an aggressive playmaker. Like sometimes that gets him in trouble, but he made a lot of plays on the football, and he was very willing as a tackler in the run game. Here's what Dane Brugler had to say about Kilgore in The Beast. He says, Kilgore is a tough eval when projecting him at a position other than nickel, but his size, athletic talent, and ball hawking skills should give teams confidence to make that bet. There is a high risk, high reward scenario waiting for the team that chases his upside. And maybe this is one of those deals where if you don't get a safety slash nickel, whatever you want to call a guy like Jalon Kilgore until the fourth round, where it's not a surefire thing, he can start right away. Maybe you sign a vet after the draft that at least hedges that position a little bit. You got Elijah Hicks. I would imagine you add someone else to that room. Maybe Cam Lewis is more of that guy. I'm not sure. But Jalon Kilgore, one of these dynamic athlete DB types in this draft, and he's younger than a guy like Trayden Stukes. Trayden Stukes is going to be 25. Kilgore's 21. So you got that working for you as well. And I just think between Kobe Bryant, Kyler Gordon, and Jalon Kilgore, I think Dennis-Sutton can make that work. I think he can mix and match those 3 guys, and where it's almost like positionless basketball, right? And to me, today's NFL, that's what a lot of these secondaries are, with their 2 safeties and their nickel. Like you think about the Seattle Seahawks, where Bryant comes from. It's like they kind of just move guys around, and depending on who they're facing, different looks, different coverages. So I think having multiple guys who can do multiple different things only allows Dennis-Sutton to have more versatility in the plays he's trying to call. Okay, BPA, and I'm combining 239 and 241. Micah Morris, the guard out of Georgia, who's pretty interesting, and Terrio Thompson, who took a top 30 with the Bears. DJ Harvey, the corner, out of USC. Carson Ryan, pretty good blocking tight end out of BYU, and then Cole Payton, the North Dakota State quarterback, still sitting there as well. There's been some chatter the Bears maybe bringing a 7th-round QB or an undrafted free agent. We'll see if that happens. But Micah Morris is a pretty interesting player because he has started for about a year and a half at Georgia, and he's a pretty freaky athlete with his size. 335 pounds, ran well, explosive, and there's stuff on his tape and his film where you're like, golly, like this guy should be getting like middle round buzz, but there's whispers about, does he care about football? Is he a good locker room fit? Well, to me, a guy like this sitting there in the 7th round, take a chance, right? Because you might find a future starter here. And if you find a guy that just doesn't fit in, well, 7th rounders don't make it that often anyway. So I don't mind taking a chance here in the 7th round. And then Ontario Thompson, who Dane Brugler has a 6th/7th round grade as we wrap up this mock draft at 241 overall. We can go ahead and push this across. He visited with the Bears on a top 30. And he kind of checks a lot of boxes of what Dennis-Sutton defensive tackles are historically. Smaller, lighter guys who are quick and explosive. You look at the RAS score, 4.75 for a defensive tackle. I mean, that is unique to be able to do that. Now, the 3-cone wasn't very good, but I also give him credit for doing the 3-cone. Like, hardly anyone does that drill anymore. Bears did bring him in for a visit, like I mentioned, so I think if he's sitting there with one of their 7th-round picks, they could bring him in. He'll fight for a roster spot, maybe sneak him onto the practice squad if he doesn't make the 53. So there you have it. Bears mock draft 10.0 BPA edition across the board. No further proof of that than with the first 2 picks, right? Jordyn, Tyson, Arizona State wide receiver, Jadarian Price, Notre Dame running back, Dani Dennis-Sutton, the edge rusher out of Penn State, Connor Lew, the center out of Auburn. I get kind of versatile defensive back, Jalon Kilgore out of South Carolina in the 4th round, Georgia guard Micah Morris, and Washington defensive tackle Ontario Thompson in the 7th round. And I got to be honest, I add all that up, kind of worked out pretty well, right? Didn't get a linebacker necessarily, didn't get a left tackle, but I still think you get Kilgore, who could be a starter for you in your secondary. Tyson gives you one of the most dynamic receiver rooms in the NFL. Price gives you a guy to pair with Monungai and have a long-term 1-2 punch. Lew, a potential starting center of the future. Dennis-Sutton checks maybe your biggest box, another edge rusher. So I think the way this played out was pretty nice, if I'm being honest. The point is, you go BPA, I think things kind of even out over time. So I definitely don't mind that approach if that's how it ends up going. Okay, grade this best player available Bears mock draft, A, B, C, D, or F. How did we do? Let us know down in the comment section below. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We will continue to pump out content here on a daily basis. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Bear down.